as Mooney lets the Bears' slim playoff hopes slip right out of his hands in what would have been a game-winning touchdown on a Hail Mary with zeros on the clock. The numbers were not great for Fields, but the game plan was even worse. Luke Getsy, Matt Eberflus, late in game, again outscored in the fourth quarter, this time 13-0 for a come-from-behind victory for the Cleveland Browns, who improved to 9-5 as the Bears' slim playoff hopes also put to rest. Mac, you know how I feel about this one.
Yeah,
I mean, I got a bunch of notes right here about how great the defense played, how Montez Sweat has changed this team completely, the defense taking the ball away. It's the second best defense in a bunch of metrics since week 4. They put this team in a position to win once again, and it felt like the coaching staff almost pushed them away from that point. What did you make of the late game decision-making by Luke Getsy, by Matt Eberflus, by this coaching staff of the Chicago Bears?
It felt like Luke Getsy, the offense, they thought the game was over in the third quarter. Like, it's time to go in the locker room, take a shower, let's get back to Chicago. Because the creativity was not there. The execution, the sense of urgency was not there. And I sit here and I told Joe, our very own Joe Musso, he's a big-time Chicago Bear fan. He's such a big fan that he has on Chicago Bears cufflinks.
No, that's an unbiased journalist.
Unbiased, but he is biased. Let's keep it real. He has Chicago Bears cufflinks on right now because he was anticipating a feel-good day, work day. And he was feeling good for 3.5 quarters of this ball game. Third quarter, they have a lead, 17-7, 14 points. As you mentioned, Joe Flacco was having a rough day. Shouts out to the defense from Chicago. They terrorized Joe Flacco for the majority of this ball game. But I told Joe, I say, Joe, those Bears, they keep playing around with their food. They're going to mess around and allow the Browns to jump back into this ball game, and they're going to win it. I told Joe that early in the third quarter because I kept seeing generic offensive plays being called. No creativity, run left, run right, screen, punt. Run left, run right, screen, punt. You're playing against a playoff caliber team. Yes, they have Joe Flacco at the quarterback position, but at home, the Browns defensively, they're a championship-like unit. And they're going to keep their ball club in this ball game if you keep playing around with your food. And guess what? You played around with your food and you squandered a big-time win away. That has been the common theme for Matt Eberflus. We saw this weeks ago on the road against Detroit. Conservative play calling led to the Lions to do what? Jump back into this ball game, and they found a way to win. There's no way in the world Chicago should have lost this ball game because of how well the defense was playing. But the defense, they became fatigued. They got tired. They got tired of just holding up the fort the entire time. Justin Fields is a dynamic playmaker. Use him as such. DJ Moore, dealing with an ankle ailment, he's still a dynamic playmaker. Use him as such. The same can be said for Cole Kmet. You saw what they did with David Njoku. Utilize Cole Kmet the same way. And I gave a speech to Joe like he was a part of the Chicago Bears. I said, if I was the coach for the Chicago Bears, you get the guys on the sideline and say, stop playing with your food. Let's go. Stop doing this. But we've seen this how many times with Chicago in the fourth quarter?
And that's the point right here, B-Mac. This, you want to talk about playing with food? You can only watch this so many times before it's the last supper for this coaching staff. Never in the history of this franchise,
you're professional.
Never in the history of this franchise have they fired a head coach in season. I don't know with 3 weeks left what that would accomplish other than to say we're not standing for this anymore in Chicago because there is plenty to build around when you look at that defense that moved Flacco off his spot 9 times, sacked him 4 times, 8 pass defense.
And the defense scored a touchdown, by the way.
They scored a touchdown.
They scored a touchdown, by the way.
They did exactly what was asked of them on that side of the ball. Plenty to build around, but we do have to talk about this Cleveland team because they sit at 9-5 now with Joe Flacco as the quarterback. Chicago made it hard on Flacco and this offense here today. As you look at them moving forward with real playoff aspirations, is this a team that you can see specifically? Is this an offense that you can succeeding, excuse me, in the postseason behind that man in January Joe?
No, to be determined, I think, because they won't play against a team like Chicago in the playoffs. Chicago is a team that is searching for ways to win ball games. When you play against teams in the playoffs, they know how to find the ways to win ball games. So that was a luxury they had on their side. And also, too, Joe, you got to remember, with Joe Flacco, the likelihood of them, granted, as we see it today, winning the division is not likely, right? There's still a lot of ball left to be played, but if the playoffs were to start today, Cleveland would be on the road in the first round of the playoffs with Joe Flacco and this offense that has become more generic than anything, deserving so because they just got Joe Flacco weeks ago. So what Joe Flacco has done, though, even though we saw some turnovers that led to points, he's still making the plays when need be. During the most critical moments of the ball game, in this matchup against Chicago, he outperformed Justin Fields. So the experience that he has is something that they can hang their hat on when need be when it comes to postseason play. And he showed up. He showed that experience in the fourth quarter of this ball game. Dying moments.
Big throws down the field.
Big throws to David Njoku. I mean, big throws to Amari Cooper. Yep. I mean, that's what you need. Yeah. And you need to have these moments. And this was a good opportunity for Cleveland because Joe Flacco had his worst game, I think, today when you talk about individual miscues, but they found a way to win. Mm-hmm. They found a way to win. And I'll tell you this all the time, Joe. You know, we work together a lot. Good teams find a way to win ball games. Bad teams will find a way to lose a ball game.
Somebody has to win. Somebody has to lose. In this case, it's a Hail Mary unanswered. The Bears suffer a loss. Cleveland with the win as their playoff hopes grow. And the percentages, according to our friends at Sportsline, also on the way up behind Joe Flacco. Mac, thank you.